Good morning, students. Today, as the third practical, we will see how to use variables and keyboard inputs in our C programming language. So, before that, actually, what is a variable? Right now, earlier in our calculations, in our simple C programs, we were directly using the values, just like 3 plus 5. So 3 is a fixed value, 5 is a fixed value. So from that calculation, 3 plus 5, we always got the 8 as the answer. Right? Now that is the very basic application of C calculations. Now what if we need to create a program that calculates values by using variables, which means the 3 and 5 will change time to time. So based on the current value of each operand, our calculation should produce the output, because no point of using a computer to just solve a problem with fixed values. We just can manually get the answer, and afterwards we always know that the answer is the same as previous, because nothing has changed. But the real application of a computer is using changing values or variables and doing calculations based on those variables or changing values. So that is the real idea behind variables. So actually variable is a memory location from your computer's RAM. You know, in your computer there's a main memory called RAM, or the random access memory, which is a volatile memory, which means that memory is not permanent. When you turn off the computer, your RAM will get cancelled, or it will reset, or the memory components will vanish. But at the runtime of the program, when your program is running or when your computer is turned on, the RAM can be used to store values. So by having a variable, what we are going to do is we will point out a specific memory location in our computer's RAM. So we can store values in that specific memory location. So we can change it time to time while the computer program is working. Then computer is able to do the calculation based on that values, or the time changing values, or in other words variables. Right now, in C programming language, if you want to have a variable, you must give a name to that variable and a data type for that particular variable. Now there are some programming languages you don't need to give a data type, but in C programming language, the data type must be given. Now, what is the idea behind this data type? Now, in previous practical, we learnt about data types, specifically numeric data types. Now, in previous practical, we divided, let's go to that particular practical slide. So, yes, practical 5, 4. We saw that basically the numbers, right? So, if we take the real line, there are different types of numbers like shown in this diagram. So we saw there are integer type numbers, basically integer type numbers, and floating point numbers, which is whole numbers and fractional numbers. So similarly, when defining a variable in C programming language, you must specifically say what type of data or what type of values that are you going to store in that particular variable, whether it's a whole number or a fractional number. There are more selections. It's not just integer or float. So as we discussed in previous or the last week practical, see, if it is a float, it is having another 3 sub options. Actually, another 2 sub categories with float. So you can just have a float, double or long double. Now, if we consider this float as fractional type variable, it can be a float variable, or it can be a double variable, or it can be a long double variable. So what is the difference? So the float is the standard fractional data type. Okay. So it can hold some fractional numbers. Double means the amount of fractional numbers it can hold, or let's say how many decimal points it can manage. So that is kind of doubled than this floating type. Now let's say float data type can hold 2 decimal point, like just say 7.25, right? So the 7.25 is having 2 decimal points, so it can't go beyond 2 decimal points. So if we need more precise value representations, so we can go double data type. So we can have 4 decimal point, let's say 7.2513. So 7.2513. So we are having 4 decimal places. So the precision of that number is greater than previous one. And long double means it can manage, or it can handle larger values, which means, now for an example, if a float can handle only a 3-digit value, let's say 999, that is the largest number it can handle. So, but if you use a long double, you can have a greater range. Let's say